We like to think of many inventions as modern, sleek, and new, but sometimes the truth of when they were first brought into the world may surprise you. From ancient steam engines to Victorian era air conditioners, here's 5 innovations that are way older than you realized. 1. Earthquake detector, 2,000 years old. You'd think that earthquake detectors would be relatively new, and you'd be wrong. The first recorded detector was a seismoscope from around 130 AD. The inventor was Chinese astronomer and scholar Zhang Heng. Unfortunately, knowledge of how to build it or how it works are lost to history. However, it's believed that it functions similar to modern seismoscopes, with a hanging pillar as the key. An earthquake tremor would move the pillar at a different rate than the rest of the device, causing it to trigger a ball release mechanism. Zhang Heng's device was not only precise, it was beautiful. 8 bronze dragons each held a ball in their mouths, poised above 8 waiting toads. If the machine detected a quake, the ball would drop in the direction of the epicenter. While we sadly don't know exactly how it worked, a recent recreation by the Chinese Academy of Sciences was shown to be functional. Not bad for 2,000-year-old technology. 2. The crossbow, 2,500 years old. Most people associate crossbows with medieval knights, but they go back over 1,000 years before that. The ancient Greeks developed a crossbow-like device called the gastrophites, or belly bow, around 500 BC. They were named as such because the shooter would place one end on the ground and the other on their belly and push down on a mechanism to slide the string into place. The Greeks eventually made these larger and larger so that they were more useful as siege engines, while the handheld versions became less and less prominent until they all but disappeared in warfare in the West until their revival around 1000 AD. The Chinese also invented the crossbow, likely independently and around the same time as the Greeks. They were quite inventive with the drawing and firing mechanisms, and used them to great effect against the nomadic horse archers that they often fought. One interesting modification was the repeating crossbow, or chukonu, which had a magazine for holding arrows. Because it was hand-drawn, the penetration power was low, so it was often paired with poison-tipped rounds. However, it made up for this by being able to fire multiple rounds in a short amount of time, making it the world's first spray and pray. 3. The submarine, 400 years old. You'd assume submarines needed electricity, steel hulls, and advanced engines, but the first documented working submarine was built in the 1620s. While underwater diving devices were known since ancient Greek times, the first real submarine is attributed to Dutch inventor Cornelius Drebbel. Utilizing oars and watertight seals, the device was capable of diving to the bottom of the Thames and resurfacing intact. During one demonstration, thousands of Londoners, including the king, were held in suspense as it performed in front of a large audience. Witnesses at the time were impressed by how the crew was able to remain unfazed by such a seemingly perilous journey, and its potential in warfare was noted. Though the submarine worked, it was limited in ability and scale. Future advances would need to be discovered before it could be anything more than entertainment. 4. The steam engine, 2,000 years old. Hero of Alexandria was a brilliant ancient inventor of the 1st century AD who developed an early steam engine. Called the aeolipile, it worked by heating water into steam, which would then be pumped into a hollow ball with 2 hollow arms. The steam would pour into the hollow center sphere, where pressure would build up and be expelled from the arms in such a way that the device would spin. This creative device, unfortunately, wasn't in any position to start the Industrial Revolution. Its efficiency was a paltry 1%, bad odds for any Greek invention, and its use was mostly for amusement. 5. Air conditioning. 170 years old. Who doesn't love air conditioning on a hot day? But if you were living in the 1800s, you would just have to tough out the heat. Unless you knew a Dr. John Gorey. Before electricity was common, Dr. Gorey invented mechanical air conditioning in 1847 to help patients survive tropical heat during a yellow fever outbreak. His air conditioning system worked by compressing air to a high pressure, cooling the compressed air with water, and then allowing the air to rapidly expand. This expansion caused the air to become very cold and create freezing temperatures which could produce brick-sized ice cubes. A bellows fan blew over the ice blocks to cool the room. Boom! Mechanical air conditioning in the Victorian era. Unfortunately, this machine was reliant on human power since electricity wasn't in wide use yet, thus making it highly inefficient. John Gorey wasn't able to effectively monetize his invention and died in poverty in 1855. His inventions did find some use, most famously by doctors trying to keep a very sick President Garfield. No, not that one. There, that Garfield. From overheating during a nasty illness. Dr. Gorey was literally a century ahead of his time, since it wasn't until the 1950s that air conditioning became common in American homes. And there you have it. 5 incredible inventions that are way, way older than you probably thought. Which one surprised you most? Leave a comment, like, and subscribe for more historical science and engineering.